Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's discussion on enhancing customer experience across the insurance vertical with Newgen One platform and hosted by Newgen. Let me introduce you to Shantanu Tiwari, who is heading the Insurance Center of Excellence, myself, Nikhil Sehgal, and I head the strategic business and responsible for customer relations across the insurance vertical in Americas. Thank you so much, Shantanu, for joining in today's discussion.
It's a pleasure, Nikhil. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, Shantanu, starting off with our topic for today's discussion, enhancing customer experience. I would first of all like your insights upon the expectations of the customers in the insurance segment in particular. What do the customers expect these days? What are their common needs?
Yeah, sure, Nikhil. I think you have raised a very valid question here. So before we actually, get into the solutions and what are the typical demands from a technology perspective, I think it is also very important, for the insurers as well as for technology providers like us to understand the psyche of the customer, the new age customer, what they want, how has the entire business perspective completely changed with the advent of new generation of customers and the availability of new technology. So we all know that in today's world everybody is connected. I mean, we have seamless connection always, anytime, and that is where the entire perspective of the customer has also changed. Unlike 10 years back, when the customer would have expected a particular request of his to be serviced in days, now his response time has come down to hours or maybe even to minutes in certain scenarios. And I think that is where a lot of expectation of the customers from the insurance companies have changed. Not just they want quick response time, which is obviously the basic need that goes without saying. What they also expect from the insurance companies is to provide them multiple channels through which they can interact with them. Unlike the earlier scenario when in-person visits to branches were the most preferred option, nowadays they want most of these interaction to happen digitally. And even that, it is not just limited to any one type of digital channel. I mean, they want to be connected to the insurance companies through portals, through mobile apps, through social media. And it is not just about the availability of multiple channels, it is also about the experience that they get across all these different channels has to be uniform. So they don't want a very different experience when they are logging on to a portal as compared to when they are logging on to a mobile network. And I think that is where it has sort of changed very drastically. What they also want nowadays is a lot of personalization. I mean, for example, any sort of a information that is coming to them, the most common information that comes to any insurance customers is the periodic renewal of their policies. Now that they don't want any general message to be communicated to them, what they want is something which is very centric to what their products are, to what their portfolio is. And I think that is where the general message concept, which was very prevalent some days back, have also now changed completely. So as I said, the customers has become very demanding. They want things to be done very fast. They want things to be done, in a much more digital manner, in a much more personalized manner, and that is where the entire industry has changed a lot.
So, Shantanu, basically, what you mean to say is the specific set of tailored offerings that the customers are more willing to see or receive in a message form or in a mail form, something that is relevant to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. For example, the same scenario which I was sharing some time back, that when a request come for them informing them that their policy has to be renewed, so they need to make a payment against the premium. Now, they just want they don't want this message to be a generic canned message which goes out to any other customer. This has to be personalized to them, and it is not just about the message that is coming. They may even want the subsequent interactions against this message to be smooth and seamless. For example, when I am responding to a request for a renewal, I may not just want to pay directly. I may have certain queries in my mind which may I want to get clarified before I make the renewal payment. So what is the process to take care of that? Is it actually, seamlessly handled, or do I need to separately call up a call center and inquire and then make the payment? So in that sense, a lot of unification, a lot of personalization is the need of the hour.
Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu. And in fact, this brings me to the next interesting question, that what are the common challenges that the insurance companies are facing these days in meeting these customer demands or expectations?
Absolutely, Nikhil. I think this is one of the very important, challenge that most of the insurers are facing around the world. It is obviously not just the digitization at the front end which is needed, which obviously goes without saying. I mean, that is something which is absolutely imperative, that there has to be front ends which have to be user friendly. There have to be multiple mechanisms for the customers to engage. But that is just one part of the problem. I mean, you may have the most wonderful interfaces, most simple interfaces to use, but till the time your backend processes are smooth and seamless, the front ends are not just going to help on their own. And I think that is where a lot of process streamlining, a lot of optimization in the way the backend team works, not just from the process standpoint, but also from the systems perspective, becomes very important. So if you have a scenario wherein to process a request, the servicing agents has to move across three different systems, then irrespective of your front end, the customer experience is never going to be smooth and good. So I think very important aspect is a lot of streamlining and optimization of the backend activities, including doing away with any siloed operation which is there. So I think that has to be one of the key challenges. Then, one of the major challenge which almost every insurer face around the world is a lot of dependency on legacy systems. So while all these legacy systems, mainframe based systems are stable, they are good, but then they are not designed to work in an agile environment, in an environment which is highly connected. So I think that is where uh, the presence of a lot of legacy is itself a very big challenge for most of these insurance companies. And I think, also what is very important is how do we manage the cost, from an operational standpoint? Because as insurance companies grows, the number of service requests that they will need to handle will also increase in the same ratio, or maybe, even in a higher ratio. So a very important aspect is also a tight grip on the cost. How the experience has to be improved without actually enhancing your operational cost, which is again I think very important. And lastly, what I said, the major challenge is how to achieve that personalization which every other customer is now demanding. I mean, there has been processes, there has been ways defined to send a lot of standard communication, but how do we personalize? How do we take care or cater to those specific demands of a particular customer is something which is still a major problem area for most of the insurers.
Yes, yes. In fact, I mean, all these challenges are like bang on. I think this is this is like on the on a specific road that the insurance customers would be facing. The insurance companies would be facing these common challenges in addressing the needs and demands of the customers. So, Shantanu, as per your experience and your in-depth knowledge about insurance as a domain, and then your vast experience in Newgen solutions and product offerings, how can Newgen address these concerns? How can Newgen like help the technology, functional, and other operational systems of any insurance organization in order to strengthen the solutions, the designs, and meeting the customer demands and expectations?
Yes, Nikhil. So I think there are certain key aspects of technical capability that Newgen brings to the table for the insurers. One of them obviously is our, you know, known track record of optimizing the processes for any insurers. And that is where our capabilities around process automation, connected processes, process optimization comes into picture. So we have been traditionally doing this work with a lot of insurers in terms of rewriting their processes, making them much more connected. So as I said, process automation in itself is just one of the issues. But how do we do away with the disconnection, the disconnected processes is a major challenge. I mean, there are always gaps. I mean, there might be processes automated to solve a part of the journey, but then what customers and what insurers want is an end-to-end digitization, which starts right at the front end at the time of submitting a request to a time wherein you may always go back, in between also to the customer to get certain information. I mean, many of these interactions sometimes are not as smooth that you just submit them and they get completed. I mean, there are multiple scenarios where you are required to go back to the customer for certain clarifications, certain queries. So while there has been a lot of focus on the first time interaction automation, but then when it comes to subsequent data exchanges, that part still relies heavily on email-based communications or call-based mechanism, which does not provide a connected working environment, for the insurers. And that is where we basically come into picture through our connected set of technologies, wherein we help insurers automate their processes end to end. And I think that is where this solution architecture that you have brought on the screen actually really helps. So if you see, you know what we are bringing in is the middle layer, which is the policy servicing solution, which extends through multiple channels to the end customer. So the front end is taken care of by providing mechanisms for your branch operations guys to help initiate cases smoothly. We have extensions in the form of portal or mobile solutions which we can extend to the customers, to the external service providers, as well as other channels. And we can also integrate with any of the existing capabilities that the insurers already has. And then on top of it, this entire solution, I think one of the major aspects is the configuration layer, because these solutions are never going to be static. They would continue requiring a lot of changes, and that is where the ability of the platform to bring that element of configurability really helps. I mean, organizations can make changes in these processes from a rule standpoint, from an interface standpoint, from a processing standpoint, with complete ease. And then obviously it is very important that it has to provide a very robust mechanisms of integration, because as I said, a lot of this automation would require unifications of system. You don't want an environment where people have to work across multiple systems. So this is where again the integration capability to help operations user, customer service users work on one single unifying layer is something which is a very key value proposition that
Yeah.
Newgen brings.
Yeah, Shantanu, and I think you are bang on, what, we are all talking about, and is the subject that, how does the process orchestration come into the picture? My workflow coupled up with the document management system, and then integration with the third-party applications.
Absolutely.
Then on top of that, you have got, like multiple portals, mobility solutions, in-person visits. So when we talk about the process orchestration, that how does the entire setup in actual work, how does the front end look like in front of the end customer, be it in a portal form or any insurance organizations end user, how are they looking at the system? So on the back end side, there are a lot many systems that are working, I would say, working in a joint fashion. And this is how Newgen solution can bring in the required degree of flexibility in terms of the configuration and the customization, of course. And that is how any specific solutions can be built using the workflow and the document management system of Newgen.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, you're absolutely right, because just like any insurance process, even the communication or even the customer servicing journey is document intensive. I mean, you may have scenarios wherein the customer is providing document. You may have scenarios wherein you are required to generate letters and communications. So it is about not just the process orchestration, it is also about the content management, the communication management. And that is where the core capabilities of Newgen around process automation, front end automation, communication automation, and centralization of all the content is something which is actually helping insurers help achieve this objective. And I think this is a very important slide that you have again brought to the screen now, which is, you know, while what we are talking about is very important from a customer servicing standpoint, but then the core capabilities of the framework, which is around the 3 4 pillars that we mentioned of process automation, communication automation, and content automation, holds true for multiple processes for any insurance company. And that is where I think organizations have leveraged Newgen platform to the fullest, wherein they have started with one of the journeys, which can be customer servicing, and then extending it across to a lot of other areas of automation in an insurance organization. So some of the examples have been mentioned here, which is around, customer onboarding, underwriting, claims management, quotation management, member automation, distributor or agent onboarding journey. So the extendability of the platform really helps. So while the initial investment can be on taking care of any one of these areas, but then insurers always have this option of doing a lot more with this platform. Yeah, so I think some of the benefits which our customers have been able to achieve is manage a lot of customer expectations. So obviously, if you are able to optimize the backend processes, you are able to reach back to the customer in a more timely fashion. The personalization is taken care of through the next way of communication. So our philosophy of a customer communication is not just sending across canned communications, but also identifying customer preferences, customers portfolio, and then you know uh, creating these communications which are very specific to them. And it is not just about an outward communication. That is just one part of the communication journey. It is also how do we handle the inbound communication, either in response to an outbound communication that we have sent across, or it can be a general inbound communication that the customer has sent for any inquiry or for any query. How do we handle that? I think that is where we have been able to help our customers manage their own customers expectations very efficiently. Obviously, if you are able to keep your customers happy, if you are able to serve them on time, it would have a definitive impact on your overall complaints ratio. You'll obviously get a lot lesser complaints. Handle uncertainties, I think that is again very important. And I think the pandemic was a classic example wherein we have been able to help our customers handle a lot of uncertainty with regards to the changes that were required to be done in their systems because of the business scenario that was there. And I think that is where the low code capabilities have actually helped them a lot. They have been obviously able to improve their processing efficiencies, and then lastly, but the most important thing has been we have been able to provide them with a very connected working environment, which has removed that problem of multiple systems, data exchanges across these systems completely. I think that is some of the key benefits that our customers have been able to achieve.
Yeah, and I think the biggest uh, intangible benefits for any organization would be like the reduction of turnaround time and increase in operational efficiency, which this application certainly brings across the table. And I have a strong sense of confidence that the solution, if it is orchestrated or it can be like worked upon in a handshaken kind of a form with the other applications, then this application can definitely bring in the results and obviously work on the benefits as presented over here. So thank you so much, Shantanu. And this brings us to the end of today's session. We hope everyone liked the same. And thank you once again, everyone, for joining in. I would once again like to thank Shantanu as well for sharing his vast knowledge and insights into today's session. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, everyone.